Hello everyone, welcome back. In this episode of Bitcoin Trade, it's just going to be another chart analysis. Don't have any real news to talk about. Um, this episode here, just going to go over just, sorry about that. Going to go over just a strict chart analysis and go over a couple things. I guess one of the things I'm going to talk about is um, I guess it's boom and bust cycles, and I guess there. I'll talk about an article I was reading regarding is Bitcoin has a bubble burst. What does a bursting bubble looks like as far as a chart? And um, if you want to know the truth about all charts, and this is just a reality of all charts that I've ever analyzed, um, they're all bubbles. All right, they are birth, they rise, they stabilize, and then they die. And so, of course, um, nothing's truly uh, infinite, infinite, as you would think. Um, they're just literally reborn into something else, and then you see the repeated cycle again. So sometimes chart analysis can be somewhat deceptive. Um, if you've seen enough, or if you analyzed enough, or if you have a good idea of just boom and bust cycles, in other words, just the cycle of life, um, you'll see some recurring patterns. And so when I read some articles about, you know, what does a chart look like when the bubbles burst? Well, it always looks like that. Um, but it's interesting that they never show you what happens after you burst the bubble. Well, you get the same repeated patterns again. A couple things happen. I guess you could say a couple things happen. Uh, it, it it dies. In other words, that's it. It just gets delisted. It stops. It's dead. It's worthless. The other option is that it just repeats that pattern again, where it rises again or goes through just a range in pricing, and then after it recovers, or the recovery process, you'll see the same kind of thing happen again, where it will just uh, accelerate in value, and it's over accelerated and it comes down, where it just repeats again. Either it's going to die, or or it's going to repeat the process, go in a range, but at a higher level. And if you kind of understand why it does that, it's kind of obvious. If you ever look at your stock market, your stocks, or um, obviously if you understand the relationship between equity value and money, um, you know that the stock in general will always go up. Um, just simple reason is just inflation. Um, so I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, how can a company get more and more, be worth more and more, um, other than just keeping up with the rate of inflation? They have to charge more because it costs more money to do things, because their value of their money is less, so they have to gain more money to make up for that. So of course, record sales are always going to be, year after year, it's going to be record sales, because, well, you need more money because of inflation. Um, when one of the things I always hear that, from a company, or when they give out their guidance, or whatever, whatever you want to, um, their quarterly report, all that other crap, um, it always seems to be a record year in sales. Um, well, if things cost more, your percentage is the same. Isn't it always going to be a record year in sales? If an iPhone cost, $200 this year, but next year the same iPhone, or whatever, the new iPhone, is going to cost $300, and you sell the same number of units. I mean, isn't it a record sales? So sometimes, when it comes to money, it can be deceptive, and charts can be deceptive, is what I'm trying to get at. The way you look at a chart, or when you look at a chart, uh, it only gives a part of the story. And so, anyways, that's just my little rant. Let me continue on with this chart analysis. And this is going to be Bitfin on a 12-hour. And here's kind of what you're seeing here. I think last time I spoke, I talked about, I don't know where I was, maybe right around here. Right now what you're seeing, what I'm seeing anyway, and you're just seeing it through my eyes, is that basically it's somewhat kind of in a triangle, in this small little triangle, but really what I'm seeing is it's bouncing back from this low. This, I think it was oversell. Looks like, excuse me, let me see if that focus. Okay, it seems like the price really should have been at around what it is now at 214, because if you look here, this is kind of where it dropped and then kind of ranged here for a while before it just really got oversold here, just to come back up again. And it's been dangling around this 10-period average. And by looking at the momentum here on the MACD, it seems like you can see the momentum downward, and it peaked out right about here, and then started slowly working way. The downward momentum has been slowly waning off to looks like a confirmed positive momentum here. And the price is above this 10-period average, in which it's quite possible it could hit up against this 25-period average, and these are weighted average, so about 250. I don't know if it'll break above a little bit, but it may just break in between and range here for a while, unless something happens, or there's something to give it a good push up, which hitting this could be a good push up, because it's going to be lower, it's going to be higher than this previous high right here. So as I mentioned, if you follow the highs, this is going to be your last high here. Now if you do what I do and follow it after two highs, 1 2 1 2, which would, if this hits up to the next high, that'd be your buying signal to start looking for opportunities to buy, because it may have a chance of actually breaking through. So you got, if it can go above this previous high, and this is going to be the resistance. So I don't know if you would put a mark here, a buy order here at this 25-period average. I would, you could probably take a chance if you're trying to risk a little bit. You could probably take a chance at buying around the 10-period average price, and let it go up to the 25-period average, which is basically anywhere around 200, 220, 280, or 180, somewhere around there. I would say those are good buying opportunities, because there's a good chance that it'll go up to this average, 25-period average, which would be slightly below 250. Now sometimes it may hit and just go a little higher, then range back down, but my feelings are it's gonna hit up here, then pull back down, and go up again. It's gonna probably wiggle in here if it goes above this 10-period average here. And obviously if it hits this average, the 25 period average, it's going to be higher than this previous high. And since that's a good signal, because we haven't had a higher high in a long time, if you look at that, since this was a higher high, and since then it's been dropping ever since. So to have another higher high from the last high would be a good possible buying opportunity where you can go ahead and take a risk in buying, especially at these lower prices. Remember, the cost of buying a Bitcoin at these lower prices, it's not bad. If they're lower, even better, because then you may actually even buy a whole full Bitcoin for $60 or $100 or whatever. But I'm thinking, I'm personally thinking of a long term in which I'm trying to gain Bitcoins. Because short term wise trading, I really don't have an issue with any short term trades. So in that regard, there's but I'm not gonna gain Bitcoins by doing short term trades. I'm gaining more in fiat currency. So right now, since the price is so low, or it's lower than what it was, gaining in Bitcoin is so much easier because I'm trying to go the path of least resistance. So right now, gaining Bitcoin is much easier than trying to gain fiat currency, so to speak. Because I have to admit, there's a lot of people out there willing to sell right now because they're panicking. A lot of miners are out there willing to sell. They're panicking. Some maybe even shut down or close shop and say, "Hey, let's take a break." If that starts occurring, then you'll probably see, demand pick up, in which you might see a price pick up. It'll take a while, like any process of how things go in a life cycle. I think in my previous episodes I've mentioned, the effects, like uh, the how did I explain it? Like the prey and the predators and everything. As long as there's good feeding ground, there's plenty of prey, and with plenty of prey comes a lot of predators. Well, eventually there's so much predators feeding on the prey. Well, not really. There's so much prey feeding on the ground that eat up all the food, right? All the fertile food, and it takes a while to finally go through that before you start seeing the decrease in the prey, and then the prey decreases because it's being fed by the predators, and then finally the predators finally decrease because there's not enough prey because the prey ate all the food, and the prey are getting eaten by predators. Usually that keeps it in balance, but in any case, there's not enough food. There's not enough fertile ground. All right, it's been depleted in some ways. And so it's a trailing kind of scenario where there's not enough food to feed the preys. The preys start dying. And then with the dying prey, then you start seeing the dying predators. Well, eventually, what happens is the food comes back. The fertile ground comes back. It just takes time. For me, that's the perfect time to, in this particular case, when I'm talking about Bitcoin trading, is to make your gains in Bitcoin. Now, there's a couple ways you can offset some of those gains, and that's to just keep on making your gains in Bitcoin. You're not going to be making gains in value in US dollars, but you will be making a gain in Bitcoin. So you're offsetting any of your losses by making more gains in Bitcoin. Unfortunately, you're not gonna, profit that much per se right now. But considering the amount of effort that it takes for me to gain in Bitcoin, because right about now it's like $60, gets me a quarter of a Bitcoin. I think I can gain $60 and have that in Bitcoin and do that 4 times a day, or maybe even 5 times a day, to the point where I'll gain 5 Bitcoins a day. And if I do that for every day until the price goes up to a certain point, all the while, also making my gains in US dollar, because I have to feed myself, right? This is where you really need to be a very experienced trader, very experienced investor. You're going to be stretched thin for some time. That's a good possibility. But if you're very smart with your Bitcoins and your money, you can turn this around for yourself. So that's the point I'm trying to get at this episode. If you know how to play the market, if you know how to play the crowd, you know how to play the psychology, and if you have the experience to do that, you'll do very well. So hopefully, this video encourages some of you, also informs some of you, and helps many of you. So that's my outtake on the price here. I really think that it's a good chance that it's stabilized for now, but if it can make another higher high than this, you'll see a little mini surge, at least up to around 250. Now what it does after that, if it goes, if it's, oh, hold on. Alright, so what you're seeing here is, sorry about that, I had to open the door for someone. Anyways, if it hits up here, it's definitely a higher high than the last high. After that, it may drop down further. That's the only danger that I see, because it's kind of been repeated here, 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 here. But if it's able to hit stay above this average, this 25 period average, even if it drops down, if it bounces back up and stays above this average and starts crossing over, that's a really good sign. That could be a sign that at least this particular, from this point on to here, this downtrend is over, and I don't want to be too optimistic, but we're still in a long-term downtrend. The thing is that it may break out of this long-term downtrend and do an uptrend on an overall downtrend, if that makes sense. So that's the thing you have to watch out. It looks like it's gonna all of a sudden go gangbusters, and lo and behold, it hits a resistance line. I think it's up around here, somewhere around 300 to 350. I think it's somewhere around here. So it'll just hit up and be above the average. Two averages will cross over. It'll hit a resistance and then continue on its way on the downturn. So that could be the danger. The other thing is, when you're working or analyzing on a long-term downtrend channel, it's hard to know if it's going to break out of that, because it'll hit up against the resistance and it'll just follow it, but it'll follow the upper portion of the resistant line. And by then, psychologically, a lot of people will automatically assume it's going to hit down. They'll put their shorts in and make their stops or stop losses, and right when you think it's going to go back down again, and you sold out your Bitcoin, it just breaks out like crazy. And I've seen that in other trading platforms, currency, stocks and stuff. And you got to remember, when the experienced investor comes into play, they're typically playing against the crowd. And if the crowd thinks it's going to go down, the experienced investor will play the market like it's going to go up, because they know that if it's always crowd, if the crowd is always right on this, or if they go with the crowd, you're never going to make a gain on it because you're just following everyone else. And that's the interesting about trading is, when are you the crowd and when are you the investor? Vice versa, investors, the experienced investor can be also wrong too, and the crowd can be right, and they can, overwhelm the investors, and to the point where, the investors are taking losses, and the crowds are, in that situation, you really want to start following the trend. So there's many ways to do this right now. I'm doing my own thing, of course, but you got to realize I really feel that there's a lot of people in here that are experienced investors, experienced traders coming into this market now, and they are playing it to the point where they're looking for gains in U.S. dollars, in my opinion. So if they're looking at it that way, for me, I have to play it a different way, because I'm not going to win it by playing that game. I have to play by winning my game. And so, now whatever your game is, you have to come up with a strategy. I hope it works for you. I hope this sheds some light. Some of the things that I do, it's for a very particular reason. So you don't have to do everything that I mentioned here, but I hope some of these things that I talk about helps you in some way or shape or form. Anyways, just want to do a quick chart analysis, maybe even talk about how I do some of my trading strategies. I also want to talk about, I did have a viewer ask some questions on the previous episode. They're not there anymore. I think he took them off. Not sure what it was trying to get at, but I don't have a code, a referral code. So if you want to know what exchange I trade at all of them. I would say try them out for yourself. I mentioned Local Bitcoins. I do have an account at Bitstamp. I even had a Mt. Gox account if y'all wanted to know, but that won't help you. Bitsy, Bitfin, Kraken, Coinbase. Let me see what else. I might, one of the things that you might want to start looking into is now I can't, when you start trading in Bitcoin, a lot of Bitcoins are being traded on Chinese exchanges. You might want to get into some of those Chinese exchanges because, wherever Bitcoins are, that's where I trade. I think there's some new exchanges coming along. Typically, I usually wait a little bit longer. I look for exchanges that have pretty good volume, because liquidity is going to be an issue. You don't want to be an exchange where they only get like one Bitcoin trading per day. You need a lot more liquidity, and that's kind of what's really important. Because if you want to make a market order or either a sell or a buy, it kind of sucks that you're driving the price up $15-20 off of a couple of Bitcoins. And I'll give you an example. Like Bitstamp has a pretty good liquidity. If you look at it, you'll see there's some good limit orders here that you can work through if you need to make a market order for whatever reason. But BitC, on the other hand, if you have a lot of Bitcoins, BitC is not Oh, well, I take that back. There, look at that. Interesting. On Bitsy, there's a 225 Bitcoin here that's just being hit. And this is a situation where if you look at the rest of the limit orders, look at that. They're just literally fractional amounts of Bitcoin. And the problem sometimes is when you have a person who has a lot of Bitcoins, they can just freeze the price on you, especially if there's not a lot of liquidity, on these exchanges, to the point where like a 225 Bitcoin limit order here can freeze the price right here for a while. Some cases it could be good because you could perform arbitrage knowing that's going to be the price. Other cases it kind of sucks because if you're looking to make a trade and you want to buy at a lower price than this, well, you might be waiting for a while. So that's the issue with some of the other exchanges that don't have quite as market depth. If you look at it, you see they're fractional. You get some bigger ones here, and then they're really fractional down here. And it kind of locks the price where it is right now. That's sometimes an issue with some exchanges don't have that much liquidity. Bitstamp, on the other hand, if you look at Bitstamp, you'll see that there's a huge order right here. That's kind of interesting. I guess it's proportional, but at least you can get some of these market orders done compared, and they're not fractional, although if you compare it as a ratio, it would be fractional. But at the same time, if you wanted to move some Bitcoins, you can, and still be able to move some price. Although there is a big, let me see, at 214, there seems to be a huge market order there. Let's see what Bitfin is. Now Bitfin doesn't have that huge market order, which is interesting. One of the things you can do if you see these different prices on the market depth is, if the price ever fell, you would know that BitC would still most likely be at 210, and Bitstamp would most likely be at somewhere around here. If you look on Bitfin, however, it doesn't have that huge limit order on this exchange, so it's possible to anticipate some kind of arbitrage trade here on Bitfin and even Bitsy and Bitstamp. And let's just go on the Chinese exchange. Let's see if there's a huge market order. No. So what I'm trying to show here is basically if you had multiple exchanges and you saw like a huge market order preventing you from getting a good price, or your market order from being executed, you can use the other exchanges to execute a trade, and I think that's fair for me to say, because it would kind of suck if you're let me see here if it's still there. Sometimes they disappear. They don't no, it's still there. So it kind of sucks that if you're here and you have a market order underneath, that it's not going to get hit. And there was a huge for whatever reason, it stopped going down further than this price and started going up, although like 100 Bitcoins were sold off, but you were slightly under here and your order were never hit, which really sucks sometimes. But oh well, that's a market order. Market orders are there. Let's see on a Bitstamp. Just check it again. Let's see if it's still there. Nope, it disappeared. So sometimes it disappears. People put them there to freeze a price, and then it disappears and it's there. So it comes and goes, but you all saw it right there. Maybe it rose in price. I don't know. But anyways, try to diversify yourself on as many large trading exchanges as you can. That way you can do a couple things. You can execute a trade for the best price. Second, you can perform arbitrage through the exchange. And third, you're reducing your risk of hacking or for some reason your hot wallet is not operational, and you can still continue to trade. So if you put all your eggs in one basket, it could ruin your trading week. So that's just my 2 cents worth. Anyways, I'll cut this episode kind of a little short. I think I gave really good information in this particular episode. Hopefully you'll have a good trading day for yourselves. Anyways, feel free to comment, like or dislike, even do a video response. Until next time, stay tuned. Bye.